We're gonna start with the Cancer Ascendant, right? Cancer is the fourth sign, the mother, basically. Right, so we're gonna talk about the Cancer Ascendant. As you see right here, we got Leo, second house cusp. We got Virgo, third house cusp. We got Libra right here. We got Scorpio right here on the 5th. Sagittarius on the 6th house cusp. Capricorn on the 7th. Aquarius 8th. Pisces 9th. Aries is the 10th house. Taurus is going to be the 11th house, and Gemini is going to be 12th. Now, I've stated in my videos before that we're going to go by whole sign houses for this example. The reason being is because we want to be able to reach more people. Normally, a lot of Western astrologers use Placidus, but for this example, we're going to use whole signs. The reason being is we don't want any... it's still going to resonate with you guys first if you're used to using Placidus, but we don't want intercepted signs or duplicated signs. And what that means is duplicated signs will just mean that we might have, for instance, Cancer on the first house, and also it may be on the second house cusp for certain people. Or any sign in the zodiac, it could be on 2 house cusps if it's a duplicated sign. Or we don't want any interception signs, basically, where you have an energy or a sign that's missing because it's intercepted, it's in between 2 different house cusps. So say, for instance, if Leo, matter of fact, was in between this house cusp and it wasn't connected to the 3rd house or the 2nd house, right? So this is the reason why we're going to use whole sign houses, is because we want to reach more people, right? So yeah, let's get it started, right? So Cancer Ascendant, right? So Cancer Ascendant, Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon deals with emotions, right? And when we think about the first house, as this is the house that represents you, it's like the mask that we wear, it's the physical appearance. I like to say it's how we act, since it's the mask that we wear. Cancer is the sign of the mother, so you have more maternal energy in terms of how you give off. You could be very sensitive. A lot of times this is also going to be your outlook on life and how others see you. So they'll see you as someone who's very caring, someone who's also very protective. And you know, you guys wear your heart on your sleeve, basically. You know, you more so, I would think, go by how you feel. So being that you come off as the mother, even if you're a man, we're not talking about gender, we're not talking about sex, we're just talking about energy wise. With a Cancer Ascendant, you come off very nurturing, right? So in your 7th house, opposite of that, this is your house of partnerships and relationships. You're going to attract, right, Capricorn type of people. You may feel a bit more restricted in this area with your partnerships, like you have to work a bit harder. Even marriage can come a bit later, as Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn represents restrictions, limitations. It doesn't mean that it won't happen, it just means that it may take a bit more time, when you may feel like you have to work a bit more harder in your relationship. Being that you could be nurturing, you know, sensitive, emotional, caring. You know, Capricorn is not really an emotional sign, it's more practical, right? So your relationships can help you kind of, you know, like step into that energy of just being a more practical one, like I just said. And you're actually supposed to be, even though you come off as the mother, you have to be a bit more responsible and reliable in your partnership. You can also attract older people, elders, or just people who are more mature, right? So being that you're coming off as the responsible one, the reliable one, the authority of your relationships, you got to make sure that you're balancing out being able to nurture yourself. Cancer is nurturing energy. 1st house represents you. If you are overly nurturing yourself, then you need to get back to being responsible for yourself. You know, that's the way that we look at how the polarities balance out. We're going to move on to Leo on the 2nd house cusp versus Aquarius on the 8th house cusp. Let's start with Aquarius in the 8th, then we're going to relate it back to the 2nd house with Leo. These are 2, they call them sister signs, but 2 polarizing energies, basically 2 opposite energies, if I said that correctly. So this is your intimate life right here, the 8th house. This deals with sex and intimacy, also shared resources, right? Joint resources. So when you have Aquarius here, Aquarius is very unique, it's very different. You may feel a bit more alienated in your intimacy. You feel like the eyeball out. You also may feel like you need freedom in this area because you don't fit in with people that you are intimate with. Or you may feel a bit more detachment, right, in this area. So being that you feel maybe a bit like aloof in your intimate life, right, this is why opposite of that, in the 2nd house represents values and our money. This is why you want to be seen for your value, because when you're intimate with people, you feel a bit aloof and different and unique, a bit quirky, right? So this is why you want to be seen for your values. Now, because Leo represents being seen, it represents the stage, it's a kingly energy, the spotlight, you know, things of that nature. And it's coming to the house of values and money. So if you're being seen too much, when we balancing this out, right, you may have planets or certain other things that may change the energy to where you're vibrating on different polarities more. Say if you have different planets in certain houses, this can amplify that energy more. Now, if you're being seen too much for your values, right, because it's saying you want to be seen for your values or you value being seen, then you need to go towards, if you're doing this too much, you need to go towards 8th house. Aquarius represents progress as well. You need to go back to progressing in your intimate life, right, with those intimate partners. And it doesn't always have to be sexual. It could just be people who you are close to on an intimate level, but it can be sex as well. So that's how you balance out these areas. You may also take or have a lot of pride in your possessions when you have Leo in the 2nd house. You may like to show off with your resources as well. That could be money or just possessions that you have. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. We got Virgo, if you can see this. Y'all see that? Yeah, we got Virgo. Virgo in the 3rd house versus Pisces on the 9th house. We're going to balance out these energies. So 9th house represents a couple different things. It represents your father, it represents your beliefs, spirituality, higher philosophies, long distance journeys, versus 3rd house, which represents short distance journeys, your neighborhood. It represents siblings, it represents relatives like aunts, uncles, cousins. I don't know, I think I just said neighbors, but it represents that as well too. And just how you think and how you communicate. So wherever you got Pisces at, you got it in your 9th house. So Pisces is where you self-sacrifice. I've told you guys before. So at times you sacrifice the things that you believe in. You sacrifice your beliefs. So being that you sacrifice your beliefs, you need to self-improve and work, which is Virgo energy, on your communication and your thoughts, how you express yourself. Virgo deals with self-improvement. Pisces deals with self-sacrifice. All right. So also 9th house, it deals with like I said, I told you it deals with long distance journeys. So Pisces is also a very giving energy. You may give and also fantasize, because Pisces kind of can deal with, it's ruled by Neptune, it can deal with dreams. So you may fantasize and also give your energy towards like long distance travels, maybe traveling overseas, right? So if you're doing that, then you need to self-improve with your in areas that deal with your neighborhood, your relatives. Make sure you're still self-improving in this area and that you're not losing connection, basically. Now, Virgo could be a very critical energy, right? Virgo represents a very, very nitpicky, very judgmental type of energy. When it's coming into the house of your mind, you guys can be very just critical, right? You can analyze every little thing. Even since it's coming to the house of relatives, neighbors, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, you may be a bit judgmental in this area, right? So if you're being too overly judgmental and critical of these people, of these individuals, so there may be some things also too that you don't know about your father. 9th house represents the father. Pisces represents illusions. He may have been the type that put up facades. Maybe there's certain parts of himself that he didn't know, so in return you didn't know him as well. Usually that's how the energy shows up as well. But he could also be a very giving person, but yeah, it's just some things to where there could be some illusions around him, and you knowing him. Let's go to Libra on the 4th versus Aries on the 10th. So when we got Libra on the 4th and Aries on the 10th house, 4th house is your private life. 10th house is your public image, your reputation, your career. This is home as well, and your feelings as well too. So 10th house, we'll jump up to the 10th house. You got Aries here, right? You need to be very initiating, even independent, and the head, the leader of your career, basically. You may find that you have 10th house represents authority figures like bosses and supervisors. So you may find that you guys attract some type of competitiveness. it will either play out through like conflicts and quarrels, or it could be just a bit of selfishness that you would attract. So you may move more independent, right, in your career, in the world, because this house can represent the world too, in your public image. So Aries is a warrior energy, being that you guys can be the type that are going through war to kind of like be the head of your career, or selfishness from other people, right? You need to make sure that you have balance, peace, harmony in your private life, in your home, because you could be going through war in the outer world in your career. So you need to just have that peace, which is what Libra represents balance. You need to be balanced in your home life. Also, 4th house is your emotions. So for emotional fulfillment, you need to be balanced, basically, as well, if you find that you're going through war in the outer world. We'll go to Scorpio on your 5th house versus Taurus on 11th house. So, how do I want to say it? Let's go with the Scorpio energy in the 5th house first, right? So, wherever Scorpio is at, I told you guys, is kind of where you're going through transformations, evolution. You may also go through power struggles. Wherever Scorpio is at, you can attract fuckery. So this is coming into the house of dating. It's also coming into the house that represents children, but in particular your first child. So you may find that people that you date and in your romantic life, it may be some power struggles. It may be some manipulation here in terms of partners that you would attract in this area. So you may move more secretly in this area, and even how you self-express is saying that you self-express like a Scorpio. Besides your sun sign, I kind of look at the 5th house as an indication of the sun sign too, because it's the house of Leo and the sun. Right? So this is kind of how you self-express. You come off as a Scorpio, more private, more of a mystery, more secretive, especially with people you date, and also it could be with your children. You may have some issues in this area with your first child. Let's see, what do I want to say? But also one of the positive sides that you can go through evolution. You can go through deep change with people that you love. They may help you actually transform. We'll go to your 11th house. 11th house, you got Taurus here. So 11th house Taurus, you need to make sure that you're more stable in your friendships, in your friendships with allies. You know, and the reason why you need to be that way too is because you're going through you're constantly changing. You're going through transformation, basically. With Scorpio on the 5th, you can go through transformation, basically, and be evolving, basically. Scorpio is about death and rebirth, and it's coming to the house of Leo, self-expression. So this is why you need to be stable and secure with your friends, because you could be the type that's constantly changing, constantly evolving, basically, if that makes sense. So secure your friendships, basically. Now, at the same time, though, too, you do come off as stable and secure and solid in your friendships. I know that sounds like a paradox, but you do come off that way. You would come off as a stable and solid one. So if you're too comfortable, because Taurus likes to be comfortable, if you're too comfortable in your friendships, which is the 11th house, then it's just saying in general, you need to go to transforming yourself, basically. You need to go through transforming yourself. You may also have some goals and aspirations around being stable in finances, as Taurus represents these things, and it's coming to the house that represents goals and aspirations.